Disclaimer, this is a lot of spiritual ego, but as we remember, Doc said nothing is just spiritual ego, and I want to share that I have become, in my own experience, what happened to me, completely programmed by Doc's words because I can hear him say them. Nothing is causing anything, everything's going on of its own because they're playing in my head like a constant feedback loop. And so then comes the question, is it real? That's the doubt. That's coming from the ego. And what's going on with me is that basically the ego understands that it is, including Doc's words, it is actually feeding my ego. It is feeding my spiritual ego. It is a reality. It is not reality. Um, I am I am uh, uh, like trying to silence the mind, and it continues wanting to express itself. And the problem is with the bananas, the monkey and the bananas. The monkey got the bananas, and now it thinks if it does the same thing, repeats the same training, has the same mindset, thinks the same thoughts, it'll get the bananas again. Because I went into a very high spiritual state, holding in mind Doc's teaching from his YouTube videos, which is so grateful for Willie and for all the channels that share that information. The thing is, kind of like him, I've been trying to control the experience, and it's been leading to a lot of just a lot of ego inflation. And so tonight I was watching Doc's The Profound Teachings of David R. Hawkins on YouTube. You can find that one. That to me explains everything. In the last sentence where he says, "And your mind doesn't say anything either, you just think it does." And so I can see that's so true, and especially things that are manifesting in life. Um, I can see the ego taking credit for everything and feeling fear or apprehension or feeling undeserving or maybe feeling lust or feeling some kind of emotion because it's taking credit for all of creation. Really, my ego, my spiritual ego, has been taking credit for all of creation, and it fluctuates between states of boredom, illuminated states, and also states where there's just like a potentiality. There's nothing really happening. There's a silence, and so for me, the most difficult thing for us is patience, because with the understanding that we have, I do feel like most of us are karmically answerable to the level that we understand everything. And the most challenging thing for me is not to be taking credit for creation like God, not to not to not to put undue stress on myself, and also not to demean and lower myself to the level of like a worm because of the programming, which is entirely mental and not actually doing anything. It's to see that I cannot create, I cannot uh, manifest as an ego. Even the illusion that I do have that power and I am creating and I am manifesting is still an illusion, because here's a way to look at it. You see, it's the Lord's creation. Creation is one and complete and total already, and everything happening spontaneously. We're walking through the hologram as these iron filings, and it really puts undue burden on someone as myself, as anyone who has gotten seriously into spiritual work, because opposites come up. There have been conflicts. I've had conflicts with places that I go and frequent, like the coffee place that I go to. Lower energies of hatred, thoughts about lower astral entities, uh, all kinds of visions, hallucinations, delusions. I've been experiencing things in my head. They say, Master Who took you under the bed and gave you a dream about Daddy. He's lost. I mean, all kinds of things. And then I remember Doc saying he talks to Master Who on the other side. It's 100% BS. Okay, so it's a lot of spiritual inflation. So the thing that is I'm leaving this video off on is to just to just see that this mind is not thinking anything either. Your mind is not thinking anything either, and that that we're walking through, um, creation as it's unfolding. And the most difficult thing, folks, for us in my positionality here is patience, because we have such perceived knowledge through perception, um, but it's to be to be patient and to step down from the self-appointed role of Lord to the delusion that we are uh, God. You are God. I am God. Okay, now you can see it's a delusion, right? That's called humility. And so um, so I hope that with everything, including relationships, when we see they're happening of their own, um, you won't get stuck with Sonder. You won't get stuck with the feeling like there are other people with an external cause outside of you creating things in your life, because that's a hard one to overcome. That feeling that there's an external cause. So now you get to the place where you see there is no external cause. You're 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 seeing that it's happening. This is happening of its own. It's not causing anything. You're really free in your mind to be what you are, to have conversations. I had a rule from something I'd read from Doc for a long time, not to talk to anyone unless spoken to or asked a question. So I'd be walking down the streets, I'd see people walking towards me, and I'd put my head down kind of like this, and I wouldn't look at them. I'd say, I'm not going to look at them or acknowledge them unless they say something to me. It bred a lot of fear. And so I don't think there should be any rules. I've lifted that one from myself, from this spiritual programming, that there has to be a fixed pattern. The pattern has to be fixed, and it has to be fortressed and solid, um, because it doesn't have to be, and it's continuously free to express what it is in every moment. And that that stopping itself from looking for gain also allows for the joy of creation, which is not dependent on outcomes. And me saying this to somebody on the forum, posting this, is not um, is not dependent on an outcome that it will be received, or that it will be responded to. The the looking for gain that it will be responded to is surrendered, and there comes a peace, because you see that I'm not driving anybody's golf cart, and you see that I'm not dependent on anyone's feedback, because this car is driving itself. So um, I've been letting go of robbing people of karmic merit by uh, by telling them spiritual information I understand before they're ready, or even by thinking of myself as some kind of teacher, some kind of spiritual spokesperson for a particular level of consciousness. I don't want to teach anybody. I want to be what I am and be free. I don't want to think of myself as a spiritual person. I don't want to think of myself as owing a teaching to the world or anything, because really Dr. Hawkins' teaching came to me um, uh, by grace. That the right that it just I just received it, and so um, it's also not a personal self who received it. It was more of a context which perpetuated thoughts. Uh, Fishes jumping out of the sea forming triangles and saying, "Oh, look, I did that. I made that happen." Kind of like how we see Layla Zen on YouTube made a lot of videos similar to how I did at that phase in my spiritual evolution, where I was making videos all the time, talking about surrendering thoughts and let go of this thought. And it was actually a phase of development for me, and I saw she did that too, talking about Dr. Hawkins' teachings. So, because we're one being speaking through a variety of bodies, the work is influencing all of us. Um, we're all uh, we're all being influenced by it, and the if we listen to the teacher, we'll be humble uh, and let go of the thought I know, let go of knowing what that means. So, um, also a thing is what it means, and what it means is what it means is what it means for us. Thanks.